Hello, everyone. Welcome to our special town hall by way of Zoom, which has become our new normal during this pandemic. I'm Jessica Callow, president of the Palm Beach County Bar Association. As you know, the focus of today's town hall is on how the COVID-19 pandemic is affecting our local practices in both the civil and the probate divisions, both circuit and county. If you have any questions during the program that you'd like to ask the judges and our representative from the clerk's office, please feel free to post them to this Zoom. There is both, I believe, a chat and a Q&A feature on your screen. You can use either one, whichever one you're more comfortable with, and we'll try to get through as many of those questions as possible today. The program does include one general CLE credit, which I'll provide you that information at the end of the program. And then we will also email it out within the next couple days so that you have it in case you cannot jot it down today. So today we are pleased to have with us Judge Lisa Small, the Administrative Judge for the Circuit Civil Division. We have Judge Charles Burton, Administrative Judge for the Circuit Probate and Guardianship Division. Judge Frank Castor, Administrative Judge for the County Civil Division. And Karina Rodriguez-Matzen, she is the Manager of Court Operations in the Civil Division for the Palm Beach County Clerk and Comptroller's Office. So thank you guys all for joining us, and we will go ahead and get started. As we mentioned earlier, I would ask that you mute yourselves while you are not speaking, and then when I do direct my questions to you, please unmute yourself so that we can hear you. And what I plan on doing that's worked successfully at our other town halls is I'll try to direct 2 or 3 questions to each of you at a time before moving on, and then we'll circle back with more questions so that we kind of round robin this. So I will start with Judge Small. Mark wants to know, what is happening to cases in the appellate division of the circuit court? It's very difficult to reach anyone to follow up on a status or determine where a case stands. Are there specific judges handling that division?
Yes, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Jessica, for your leadership, and thank you to the Palm Beach County Bar for organizing these town hall meetings. They're so informative. We're learning so much from all of you, and it's a real opportunity to connect, so thank you. So here's the answer to the question. Yes, circuit civil appeals, these are the appeals coming from county court or coming from other administrative bodies. Those continue to progress. There is an administrative assistant who is charged with answering the inquiries. Her name is Debbie Bradley, and you can contact her at the courthouse. She is right down the hall from me, and she's here right now. So she can answer any question concerning your status on a civil appeal.
Great, thank you. What types of court proceedings are currently still moving forward in the Circuit Civil Division, Judge Small?
We are doing everything in Circuit Civil with the exception of with the exception of jury trials right now. So we are conducting all of these matters which are categorized as non-essential for the Chief Justice Kennedy's administrative orders remotely. We're conducting the UMCs, special set hearings, evidentiary hearings, and non-jury trials. As it relates to the evidentiary and non-jury trials, those are being conducted remotely, usually by video conference and when feasible.
Okay. So on that note, then, how do attorneys set up their hearings or trials, as it may be, and appear for the same in Circuit Civil?
I think the bar will be happy to note that as far as the Circuit Civil bench is concerned, although we're not exactly uniform, we are more consistent than ever with our divisional instructions. So that's hopefully very helpful to the bar and to parties representing themselves. So online scheduling across the board for the UMCs and the special set hearings. Now is a unique opportunity since the jury trials have been suspended, extended through July 2nd. So that's online scheduling for your 30 minutes or less hearings. For hearings that are going to take more than 30 minutes, contact the judicial assistants, coordinate with opposing counsel, and you can obtain the hearing time for an evidentiary hearing. And for the non-jury, we are conducting a like my division, we're conducting a non-jury trial docket, but you can communicate with the court as it relates to the status of going forward with a non-jury trial. And if you have any questions, always call the JAs. If those questions are not answered, then set a status conference in the case as it relates to scheduling.
Thank you, Judge Small. I'll have you mute yourself, and I'll have Judge, please go ahead and unmute yourself. I'll direct the next questions to you.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. Are probate judges holding any hearings? And if so, what types of hearings are you guys holding?
Okay, well, I think all of the probate divisions are handling matters that come before it. Some are a little different. And so I think the most important thing lawyers should do before they do anything else is check the judge's division instruction. For example, Judge Brad Harper is covering for Judge Francis while she's out on maternity. And so I'm not sure necessarily how Judge Harper is handling her division. We're all doing UMCs. We're all doing special set hearings. The same thing as Judge Small mentioned, 30-minute hearings. You can go online and schedule. What we're asking all lawyers to do, though, once they schedule a hearing, is not send us any orders until a day before the hearing, and then send in your proposed orders. We're doing the hearings on Zoom, and so rather than have 30 different lawyers setting different hearings, my preference is that they go through my JA, and she's collecting all the emails, she's sending out the Zoom invites. But the best thing you can do really is check each judge's division instructions during this time. But we're holding all hearings, so.
That's terrific. So Judge Burton Greer wants to know, do all parties have to agree to a Zoom evidentiary hearing, or will the judge conduct an evidentiary hearing by Zoom over the objection of a party?
My motto is Zoom on. So I think as long as one party wants to have the hearing, I mean, it's really up to the judge. And I think the judge has the discretion to just order, we're going to go forward and we're doing it on Zoom. I think as the Supreme Court just indicated in the recent order, I think it's only criminal, juvenile, termination of right cases that both parties have to agree to a Zoom hearing. So I think, we want to keep the dockets moving as best we can. And so, my preference is let's keep going and keep hearing it. And if one person doesn't like it, we're going to go forward.
Okay. Well, since the ex parte docket is suspended, how do we get our cases before a judge?
Okay, my favorite question. So I want to shout out to our chief judge because, we made a sincere effort to get probate out of the dark ages and come back to what everyone else is doing, and that's been using the online system. So we came out with these probate checklists. If you go on the online system, you will find a checklist for every kind of probate estate you're filing, whether it's a summary administration, formal, with a will, without a will, whether you're seeking a determination of homestead. There is a checklist that each lawyer should complete. They should upload the checklist to OLS as a separate document. A lot of times lawyers are putting the checklist and then they're adding attachments, their order of summary, whatever. So we want every proposed order sent to the OLS system as a separate order. And that's really going to, solve, the need for not having ex parte. I mean, I think ex parte is probably going to be a thing of the past. The online system has really taken off. Lawyers are using it a lot. We appreciate that. We just want to make sure they're using it correctly. I know if you go to my division instructions, I have a link to a YouTube video that our tech people put together. It'll explain the online system. So it's working out great. And that's really the best way to get orders to the judge. I mean, some lawyers are still using mail. We prefer everything come through the online system. That's really the best way.
And so I don't practice probate, but if I understand that, it sounds like you use a probate checklist for every order or issue you're trying to get in front of the judge.
Not everyone, but there's a lot of checklists out there. And the purpose of that is, you know, when I first came to probate, lawyers were upset because it was taking so long to get orders. You know, every piece of paper was getting shuffled off to the case manager. And so with this system, you know, I mean, even judges who are new to the division, it helps them to go through. But the checklist needs to be filled out correctly. So, you know, when a lawyer checks off that the original will has been filed, that means the original will has been filed and docketed. And then when we go on the docket and we see it's an e-file copy, you know, all that's going to do is delay. It's going to result in a status memo, you know, coming out to the lawyer saying you need to get us the original will. So, I mean, the point is, it speeds up the process. It helps the judges enter these orders and get them out quickly. I hope the lawyers have noticed a quicker turnaround, but we've been really trying to do that. So.
Great. Well, thank you, Judge Burton. I'll go ahead and have you mute now, and I will move on to Judge Castor. If you can unmute yourself, Judge Castor.
Hello.
Okay, great. So thank you again for being here today. Are the county civil judges conducting hearings at this time, and how are they primarily conducting those hearings?
Yes, all the county civil judges are conducting hearings. And the best way to set a motion hearing, for example, would be to use the online scheduling. If for some reason an attorney has a problem with setting a hearing, I would say contact the judicial assistant. I know many of the judges have already begun to do the pretrial small claims cases over Zoom, which can be tough because we don't actually have contact information for a lot of people initially, but they're starting to do that and going through their JA to get those set up. Also, eviction hearings, I think judges are trying to set, although we have several orders that I'll get into in a minute regarding that.
Okay, so in terms of scheduling the remote hearings, what is the best way for attorneys to do that right now? The
best way is to go through our online scheduling system. And, you know, I can't guarantee that every single judge, there's about 8 of us that do county civil cases. So if you have a problem and can't get, you know, the block of time that you want, I would suggest go through the judicial assistant, contact them through their email first. If that doesn't work, then call them.
Okay, terrific. And you touched on the eviction orders that are coming out. So we did have a question about how are the judges interpreting the eviction orders from the governor and the Supreme Court?
Okay, so there's actually a third order, but let me start with the Chief Justice has stated no writ of possession can be issued until June 1st, basically. So, you know, that's any type of eviction case, whether it's commercial or residential. Now, within the residential, we got to pay more attention to the governor's order. The governor suspended the time as far as a cause of action goes on the residential evictions for non-payment of rent. So we have to determine what type of eviction it is, what type of residential eviction it is. If it was filed on the date of the governor's order, which was April 2nd, the governor said 45 days, time is told. That brings you to May 18th, which is actually a Sunday, I think. So then we're looking at May 19th. Well, then on a residential eviction, a tenant has 5 days to respond and put money into the court registry. So you got to give 5 more working days. So we're looking at May 26th that the tenants have to respond to a residential eviction for non-payment of rent. All right, the third order that we're dealing with now is the CARES Act. That's a federal law, and there's a 120-day moratorium on residential evictions for certain types of cases, like a Section 8 housing. Also, if the landlord has a loan or mortgage backed by FHA or the VA. So we're going to be coming out with, our circuit will be coming out with something regarding that. Landlords are going to have to, provide us with additional information, because we can't evict people if the landlord has one of those types of mortgages or Section 8 housing. So there's a lot of things to consider. But whatever we do, no writ of possession can be issued until June 1st. The judges are conducting hearings. I know the clerk is allowing residential evictions to be filed, but the final judgments are not being signed at this time. And we'll probably start at the end of May to sign those final judgments that were filed before April 2nd, and as well as the commercial eviction cases. And then, we'll just have to move on from there. But, if you think about it, at least 2 months worth of eviction cases, the sheriff is not going to be able to serve those writs all at once. So, if you represent landlords, I would recommend patience on that, even if you have a final judgment, because it might, take a few more weeks. In the meantime, the judges are ordering mediations, and we're doing Zoom mediation, and we are doing determined hearings, and we can't even do trials on the commercial eviction cases.
Oh, great. So Lloyd had a question. Let me see if you've already answered it, because it is about residential evictions.
Yeah, I read his question, Lloyd. How are you? And the question is regarding residential eviction, if it's a termination and not a eviction for non-payment of rent. The governor's order specifies non-payment as far as the 45-day suspension goes. So I think on a termination of the rental agreement of the tenancy, the judges would have to look at that because is that termination based on non-payment, or is the termination based on the lease is now expired? So I think that might lead to an evidentiary hearing to make that determination.
Okay, thank you. All right, Judge Castor, I'll have you mute, and Karina, I will have you go ahead and unmute. Are you ready? Great, thank you. And thank you for joining us. But the first question is, how can someone execute an oath of witness of will right now?
Okay, well, we are gradually opening up some services to the public. So if they needed to execute an oath of witness of will right now, they would have to come to our main judicial courthouse in West Palm Beach. And they can come to the second floor, room 2.22, between the hours of 8 and 4 p.m., Monday through Friday, and we will execute it there. We do anticipate that they will be able to do so at the branches beginning on Monday, May 11th.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Terrific. So the next question then is, have notarization requirements in probate cases been waived?
I'm going to echo Judge Burton, and I would direct attorneys to look at the divisional pages for the judges. I believe only for certain documents, for certain affidavits and waivers, they have waived the notarization requirements. But if you go to their divisional pages, it specifies documents you still have to notarize and what documents they've waived it. If we reopen beginning May 11th, then once again, they can come to our front counter to have those documents notarized as well. So that should ease that problem that they've been having so far. And also, I note that that statute that went into effect on January 1st, that now Florida notaries can do remote notarization, that they may want to look for a remote notary to assist them with that.
Terrific. I'll ask you one more question before we move on. How can someone get original documents and proposed orders to the clerk's office?
Well, proposed orders, as Judge Burton so wonderfully explained, are going to go through the court through the OLS system for probate matters. They're no longer coming in the mail to the clerk's office. Original documents, they have a few options. They can mail them to the clerk, And our address is on that website, but I will give it now if people want. P.O. Box 4667, West Palm Beach, and the zip code is 33402. So wills and death certificates can be mailed to that address. Or starting on Monday, May 11th, they can come to our front counter. Most attorneys in the probate division have been mailing them to us, but that option will be available starting next week.
And Karina, following up on that, I don't know if it's universal, but my general understanding is that delivery services such as UPS and FedEx won't deliver to a PO box. Is that true? And if so, is there another address where if you want to ensure you have some sort of trackable delivery, the attorneys can?
If they're just sending it registered mail so they can track it, they can send it to our PO box. If they want signature confirmation, then they'll have to send it to that specific branch address where their case is assigned to. So the 205 North Dixie Highway or the 200 South Atlantic Avenue. So they'll send it to the street address for the courthouse if they're requiring signature confirmation. But if they're just tracking it, they can send it to our PO box.
Okay, thank you, Karina.
So the PO box is a little faster.
Terrific. I want to remind everyone, if you have questions for any of our panelists today, please go ahead and submit them through chat, Q&A, or apparently if you have my text number, my cell phone number, you can text me too, because I am getting some of those, just to make fun of some of my friends here. But let's keep going and let's go back to Judge Small. Karina, if you can mute, and Judge Small unmute. Okay, so Judge Small, the next question for you is from Greer, and he is asking, when will judges begin setting live trials, and how far out into the future will the trials likely be set? I know that's predicting the future a little bit, but do you have any sort of thoughts that you can share with us?
Well, right now, through the end of May, through May 29th, there are no in-person, non-essential, but they have the AOs coming out of the Florida Supreme Court identify the non-essential hearings. So for Circuit Civil, all of our non-jury trials are being conducted remotely when feasible. And so we may be able to conduct in-person non-jury trials as early as in June, but this right now is an issue that is being considered. And proviso here, we still will continue to operate with an emphasis on conducting matters remotely. If you read the tone of the administrative order that came out yesterday from the Supreme Court, we're to continue to utilize as best, for these UMCs, the special sets, remote, and when feasible, the remote technology.
Okay. Next question is, how do the attorneys submit their materials to the judges in advance of the hearing or trial?
This, you would need to review the judge's divisional instructions. So for some divisions, it's you can send OLS, that's the online scheduling system, e-courtesy method. Some judges prefer sending the materials, again, electronically, but a different path to their divisional email box, the CAD division box. And then some judges require that the materials be submitted hard copy in advance of the hearing. So the bottom line is to please read the judge's divisional instructions on this. The judge's divisional instructions specifically address this.
Okay, terrific. Thank you, Judge Small. And I'm going to open up this question to all of our judges. It comes from Patty, and she asks, have you experienced any difficulties such as technical issues or other challenges in assessing credibility of witnesses in evidentiary hearings or non-jury trials? And if so, what suggestions do you have for participants to address these types of issues you've seen? And whoever wants to start. can just start.
I'll go ahead. I have not had any experience finding someone was not credible, but I think that probably will become an issue at times. When you're cross-examining a witness under oath, obviously being in a courtroom would be beneficial, and a witness could easily start saying, "Oh, I can't hear you," or "I'm having problems here," to get out of answering a question. So certainly that could be an issue and will be going forward, but I just have not experienced that yet.
Oh, that's good. Judge Burton or Judge Small, do either of you have any comments to that question?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it really depends on the case. I mean, a really contentious case is very difficult to do remotely. I mean, it's in cases where I think you can sort of streamline the issue and, where credibility is an issue, I think it's very difficult. You're looking at the secret square, I mean, it's very difficult to determine who credibility on video, I think.
Okay. Judge Small, anything to add to that?
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay, so then the last question I have right now for you, Judge Small, is how are depositions and mediations being addressed in Circuit Civil?
The depositions and the mediations are, well, again, it depends on the case. And the specific circumstances, each judge will decide, given the specific circumstances of the case. But the general principle is we're supposed to promote utilization of the remote technology for going forward with video depositions and also for the mediations. You just need to look at the specific circumstances of the case. If there's some issue specific to that case where the remote wouldn't work. Example, the deponent doesn't have a device that would support a video deposition.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to move back to Judge Burton. Judge Burton, if I have a couple more questions from you, and then we have some questions from our attendees. What is the best way to get proposed orders to the judge for signature in your division? I think you already kind of addressed this earlier with the probate checklist, but is there any other ways that we haven't already discussed?
No, I mean, the only thing, sometimes people send them through the mail. They used to send them to the clerk's office, probate division. They used to send them to the case manager, probate division. Some would send them to the judge's office. And what we're really asking is that everyone send orders through the online system. If you have a hearing and you're sending a proposed order, wait till the day before. But any other orders you want signed through the online system.
Okay. And then a similar question that we had for Judge Small, is there anything special to the probate division about handling exhibits for special set hearings or any hearing or trial?
Again, I mean, I would echo what Judge Small said about checking the division instructions, but I think we're all pretty uniform. I know Judge Tickton is working on trying to get an evidence portal set up. That would be awesome if that happens, but right now, what we're asking is that all exhibits be pre-marked, all exhibits be shared between the parties, of course, and that they be sent to the judge's CAD division email box. And that should be done at least a day before the hearing so they can be printed up and typed up. I mean, make sure they're labeled correctly and then filed with the clerk.
Thank you. So Judge Burton, Theo asks, let's see, how are the probate judges dealing with new guardianship cases? Are examining committees being appointed and expecting them to meet with the alleged incapacitated?
Yeah, guardianships have been a challenge. First of all, the ETG hearings, the emergency temporary guardianship hearings, have been considered an essential hearing. I've done a couple of those in person. I've done a couple of those remotely when everyone agrees. The biggest problem, as Theo pointed out, is some of these people are in nursing homes, or some of these people are in adult living facilities. And even if the examining committee member wanted to go out there, they're not letting anyone in. So that's difficult. What we're trying to do is trying to reset these, to the outer limits. And we're hoping, let's say by mid-June, for example, that the examining committee members are going to feel more comfortable going out and actually doing these interviews. Of course, everyone knows, I think, that at least one of the members, the MD, has to do a physical exam. So it's very difficult to do a physical exam other than in person. So we're trying to set the examinations, or giving the examining committee at least until mid-June to get their examinations done.
Okay. Thank you. Don't know if we have any questions left specific to you. So I'll move on to Judge Castor while we get more questions submitted. Judge Castor, I think you said they are, but can you explain a little bit more about, is the ADR office still mediating county court cases, and how are they working through those challenges of getting those set up?
Yes, they are, and they're focusing primarily on the eviction cases. And our county court mediator was actually just hired into the position. Her name's Amy Wagner, at the beginning of March. So, it's a great way to start a new job. But she is trying to get the mediators that we normally use, they volunteer on our small claims cases, and then they also mediate, other county court cases in which they can be paid. But most of them are elderly, and so they won't, they can't come in right now to the courthouse. And we're trying to set them up with laptops so they can do mediation from home as well over Zoom. But in the meantime, I think Amy Wagner, the county court mediator, has been conducting numerous, every day she's doing mediations. And what a lot of times, like on an eviction case, she'll mediate it. And if it's unsuccessful, or even if it's successful, then, judge can come on Zoom and enter an order, regarding that mediation without having the signatures. But they are working on, a way to get people to sign a stipulation if necessary. Other types of cases, we're referring them, and I guess she'll set them up with the attorneys or the litigants to mediate.
Okay, great. I'm going to start this question with Judge Castor, but I'm going to open it up to Judge Burton and Judge Small also, because the question has come from several people. Will attorneys and litigants be allowed to appear remotely after June 1st, or after this pandemic is sort of over and we're a little bit more back to normal? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, they will. And I think the Chief Justice's latest order from 2 days ago encouraged that specifically. So I think that's going to be the way of the future, at least the near future, until there's a vaccine and we see the number of people who, the virus go down. I'm not going to be forcing anybody to come to court if I can help it. I would prefer people stay away. I'm in the North County Courthouse. We're about to open up next week the tax collector's office and the other county offices. So how many people are going to be coming through the front of the courthouse in a day? Thousands. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fear from litigants, attorneys, about coming through the entranceway. I have no plan to make people come. So I'm going to try to accommodate you however I can remotely. And I suspect other judges will as well. I think the only time you really have to come to court would be for, a criminal trial. And certainly there are other types of cases, I think, where the judges would want the litigants to come in to court. But motion hearings in a civil case, why do you have to come in for that? And then our small claims trials, I think those can be done remotely. Mediations, as we've already talked about, can be done remotely. So most of what we do in civil can be done remotely. So no, the answer is no. I'm not going to make people come to court.
Right. And even if you take out, and again, this is open to all the judges, if you take out that fear of what's happening with the virus, assuming we get past that at some point and it is back to business as usual, I've seen a lot of attorneys really loving the opportunity to appear remotely because it saves their client travel costs. It saves sometimes the waiting when you're just waiting around in the courtroom for a UMC to start. Again, do you guys think that even in that scenario, the judges in the courthouse will still be using these remote options that they've now successfully, rolled out?
I do. I think this is really the wave of the future. And assuming the pandemic is behind us and the killer bees will be behind us. And I mean, to me, it makes sense. Why not appear at a UMC hearing on Zoom or on some other remote platform? Because you can appear, shuffle around between different hearings at the same time without running around. And I think short evidentiary hearings, I think are really, well suited for these, some type of remote appearance. I think as you get into the trials, gets a little trickier, and I think obviously lawyers would probably prefer to have in-person hearings at that point.
Thank you. Judge Small, anything to add to that?
I agree with both Judge Burton and Judge Castor. This is going to be a permanent fixture in how we operate going forward, because it makes a lot of sense to not have to drive a total of 2 hours to attend a 10 or 15-minute hearing in front of the judge, whether it's a UMC or a 15-minute special set. And then even with the special sets that are 30 minutes, those continuing on to the future, it's working well. We are so fortunate here at the court that we have an amazing technology department. They're immediately available to help us with all the little bumps that happen as we proceed remotely. But we were very fortunate when we started the transition after the pandemic broke to be ready to go. I saw, if I could just segue to one moment, there were some questions about what is OLS? So that's the online scheduling system, the OLS. And so the answer is yes, you can continue to submit your orders electronically through that system, and you don't have to have an event tagged to it. So agreed orders where you're not having a court event, please submit them through the submit proposed order path. So this whole electronic system, it's here to stay, and it's just going to expand.
Yeah. And so I'm sure everyone's keeping track of the chat, but just in case you're not, if you're on your phone only, the question came through on submitting ex parte, or in this case, like Judge Small saying, agreed orders through the OLS, the online scheduling system. It was Jeff's understanding that without an event, such as a motion or a hearing to tag that order to, it wouldn't be possible to submit that order. But Judge Small, you're saying that is not the case. They can still submit the order without a hearing or a specific event to tag it.
That is correct. And if you have any difficulty in submitting it, contact the JA, and the JA will be able to work you through it.
Perfect. So I'm actually going to move back to Karina real quick. We have a couple more questions for you. Okay, there you go. So Karina, I think you already talked about this, but if there's anything to add about when the clerk will be open to the public and under what circumstances, is there anything you haven't already talked about with that?
I believe the clerk's website will have some more information today, as well as a press release. But we do anticipate opening our offices to the public this coming Monday. We have installed plexiglass on all the front counters that don't already have glass in place. All of our front counter employees will be wearing masks. The court has their own security measures in place as far as the thermal readers, taking the temperature of everyone who comes into the courthouses. And we have placed decals like they have at the supermarket for our lines at the front counter so that people will practice social distancing and stay 6 feet apart and try to have everything set up in a way that minimizes contact to try to keep our customers and our staff safe. The supervisors and managers are going to be helping to triage our lobbies and our front counters those first few weeks when we assume it'll be a bit chaotic to make sure that everything is going safely. And but I know people are eager to receive our services again.
Okay, perfect. I thought I saw some more questions for you, but one question that came through is, can you repeat the address where they're supposed to send original wills and death certificates? Or can you point us somewhere on the website where—
If you go to mypalmbeachclerk.com and you go to the probate page on court services, you can find all the addresses, the fees, and all the information that you need for submitting anything to the probate division.
Okay, perfect. Let's see. I swear I saw another question for you, but it seems to have disappeared. If someone submitted a question for Karina and wants to resubmit it, please go ahead. I didn't see it.
Let me jump in while people can come up with questions, because it relates to the last one about whether attorneys will still be able to come appear remotely. 2 days ago, the Chief Justice issued a new order extending the no jury trials through the month of June. So jury trials are not going to begin until July. And you need to know that the priority, once we do get jurors in, will be criminal cases in which maybe speedy trial is at issue, or someone has, a defendant has been incarcerated for a long time and, you know, probably had their trial set in March before it was canceled. Those are going to be a priority. So if you're expecting that, you know, you have this civil jury trial and you're going to be going that first week of July or second week, you know, it's unlikely. Okay. So, and then the next priority after, you know, we work through some of those criminal jury trials will be the circuit civil. So don't ask me when we're going to get to county civil jury trials, which we don't have a whole lot, but they're going to be low priority if anyone cares about that. Okay.
So Judge Castor, I believe you're answering the question from the user named Zapla. So it sounds like the civil judges will help cover those criminal matters?
I don't think that's been decided yet. And, you know, I'm sure many of them would be willing to, depending on how many there are. But I just think the first priority will be some of the criminal cases where there's speedy trials at issue, but Lisa can probably address that.
Okay, Judge Small, do you want to, I'll open that up to you. The question, just for everyone else who isn't physically reading these questions, is since the speedy trial rule will have criminal divisions swamped once jury trials start again, is there any plan to have civil judges cover criminal matters once jury trials start up?
Judge, I agree with Judge Castor that has not been determined yet, and that there are civil judges who, you know, would be ready to go to if need be. But what we know now is the following: that there are priorities that have already been determined. When we start back up with the jury trials, it will be speedy trials, then criminal circuit cases, and then circuit civil. And just to go a little bit beyond that, what we also know is that if your case requires an expanded panel in circuit civil, we're suspended on those through September. No large panels. So an expanded panel is a panel of jurors that exceeds 32. There are many cases that may go for like 2 weeks that may need a jury panel of upwards of 100. And some 250, those are going to have to be rescheduled because of that suspension.
Got it.
Yeah, I
So
think
what-
you have to consider that the jury room, we used to have it full or almost full and people sitting right next to one another. So, we got to have social distancing in the juror room. And I don't know if there's a plan to use another room to put jurors in before they're sent upstairs or not. But all of those things, you got to take all that into consideration.
Right.
The chief, she's absolutely amazing. How she is leading all of us, and she's already been having many planning discussions in concert with the clerk's office and the administrative judges on the social distancing measures that will be put into effect once we start back up with jury trials.
Okay, true.
When the jurors are coming to the courthouse, what's going to be done to dividing them up and what areas they'll be in, and all of this is being planned by our chief and in concert with the clerk.
Okay, well, and we actually had a couple of questions specifically about juries and jurors. Judge Small, you mentioned that no large panels will be ordered until September, but overall, is the plan right now being discussed to have less jurors appear in the first place? As Judge Castor mentioned with the jury room, there's not enough space to social distance. Is that part of the consideration that the chief judge is looking at? Is just having less jurors come in each day?
There's determination as to how many summons to send out and how many would be the yield. We don't expect when we open back up that we're going to get the yield that we were going to get before. So when we were ramping up to perhaps begin with the jury trials starting on June 8th, but that's not happening. We're suspended through July 2nd per the Chief Justice's recent AO example. 1,000 summons sent out with perhaps a yield of 300, but we don't think 300 would show under these circumstances. So I don't know that the answer to the question, are you sending out less summons? It's perhaps, but again, we're not going to be, our yield is not going to be what it was pre-COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, I agree. That's probably going to happen. When jurors do arrive, when the courthouse reopens, is there any plan to test them for COVID each day they appear? I'm not sure if this question is specifically talking about the swab tests or some other measures to try to identify whether someone's at risk, but any discussion happening in the courthouse regarding that you could share?
The question's still to me right now.
It's to anyone, but yes, for now, to you, Judge.
The answer is no, there is no plan to be having a testing center for COVID-19 here in the courthouse.
They are doing a temperature check.
We have the temperature checks that the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office has provided. So that's being done. And there's screening and there are, with the summons that will be sent to the jurors, there will be identified the screening type of issues that are listed. Like if you have been exposed, they've got to not be coming. If they've been exposed, if they have COVID-19, they've been exposed to it. If you've traveled, there'll be a list, just like what is posted downstairs at the courthouse when you're coming inside the courthouse for one of the essential hearings. Those measures will be taken.
Okay, great. All right, we have some more questions from our attendees. Esther asks or states and then asks, my client lives in New York City. Will she need a notary or court reporter with her when she testifies on Zoom for a court hearing in Palm Beach County?
Well, so if I could jump in.
everyone.
If I'm looking at somebody in the courtroom and swearing them in, or I'm looking at them on Zoom swearing them in, I think that's probably sufficient. I think the people do appear by telephone, they're going to need a notary. But if they're going to appear on video, I don't really see too much of a difference personally. I just would add, I'm very happy I'm not in a jury division, because I think that's going to be a real challenge going forward. But,
Yeah, same here.
good luck to you guys.
Judge Small, anything to add on that? Are you requiring out-of-state participants who appear on Zoom to have any special notary or court reporter to swear them in? And you need to unmute yourself.
Right. When they're appearing, I agree with Judge Burton that the way I proceed with the evidentiary hearings and the non-jury trials that I've conducted, first off, the issue has not been raised, but I am administering the oath to them through the video conference mode.
Okay. Look at the rest of our questions. I think we asked that one. All right, I think we are through all of our questions so far. If anyone has any other questions, please go ahead and submit them. In the meantime, what I'll do is I'll ask each of our panelists, and I'll start with Judge Small and then work my way through, is if there's anything that hasn't been asked but that you want our attendees to know about practicing in circuit civil right now, now's your time to share it. So I'll open up the floor to you to maybe share some final words while we wait to see if a few more questions come in.
I'm just going to share what I share at all the UMCs and the special sets with my announcement. And I just want to emphasize this situation, this crisis presents a very unique opportunity for you to obtain special set hearing time or even time that's lengthier than the 30 minutes. So seize the moment, obtain the time, manage your cases. I mean, who would have thought that you'd be able to get a special set hearing time in circuit civil for next week or the following week? But it's really exciting to see how the calendars are filling up for May. So seize the moment for the rest of May and for June for setting your hearings, please. That's my message.
Perfect, thank you. Judge Burton, any final thoughts from you?
Sure, a couple of things I just want to mention for probate. And that is, I know Karina mentioned, filing of the wills or filing of the death certificates by sending them in by mail. I want all the lawyers to know that even when the clerk receives them, I think it takes about a minimum of 3 days before they're going to show up on the docket. I don't know if that's accurate. Karina can tell me if I'm wrong, but it's about 3 days. So when you file a new case or when you file and complete a checklist, you need to at least wait the 3 or 4 days to make sure that those items are on the docket, because I think, most of the probate judges are not going to sign, open an estate with a photocopy of a will, for example. We're all concerned about fraud and so forth. So, at least give it a few days until until the clerk's office actually put it on the docket. Second, you guys are doing a great job using the online system. And we appreciate that, because I think it helps move stuff along, certainly in probate. It just shows us that we really don't need those ex parte hearings. If you file your orders through the system, they go right to the particular division. I could just tell you, for example, in South County in March, we had a total of 1,812 orders signed by the 3 of us in South County. Of those, 282 were paper. So everything else was through the online system, which is awesome. We appreciate you using it. The only other thing I'll mention, please be careful when you use the word emergency in a motion. When you use the word emergency, that triggers an awful lot of things. One, it triggers the clerk to immediately send it to the judge. And we got to stop what we're doing. We're in the middle of a hearing. I got to take a look and see what this emergency is. And, usually the emergency is the estate is selling a piece of property next week and the lawyer didn't get the order done in time, So there's other ways to do it than by filing an emergency. I'd rather you contact my JA. Any problems can be worked out. That's really not a big issue. Other than that, keep using the system. Keep using the checklist. Please make sure they're accurate. The judges are looking at those checklists as if you're standing before the court saying, Judge, I'm telling you, these items are all filed. So we want to make sure they're accurate. And stay safe, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Judge Burton. Judge Castor.
I don't have anything else to add, and I agree. Just stay safe and take care of yourself.
Thank you. Karina, any final words from the clerk's office? And yeah, there you go.
Just to clarify what Judge Burton said, yes, for new cases, we try to adhere to a 2 business day turnaround, and for pleadings in an existing case, 3 business days. With probate, we've been able to keep up with that during this time. Circuit civil, I think attorneys are seizing the day, as Judge Small said, because we're getting about over 2,000 filings in the queue every day. So we're probably at a 4 business day turnaround right now for circuit civil. But even if we've opened your new case and docketed it for probate, because we're waiting on those original documents and the judges' case managers don't want us to send up the file until we have everything they need, we still may have to wait a day or 2 to receive your will or death certificate before we send everything up to the court. So just to give you an idea of the timelines. Other than that, that's all. Thank you for your patience with us as we prepare and try to keep everyone safe.
Thank you, Karina. And again, thank you to all of our panelists, Judge Small, Judge Burton, Judge Castor, and Karina. We really do appreciate your time and your insight today. Thank you to our attendees for joining us. If you guys have any suggestions for future town halls that you'd like to see, please feel free to email anyone, myself or anyone in the bar office with your suggestion. I know we have I believe a criminal law town hall coming up and a family and juvenile town hall coming up, but we're open to other ideas. So please toss those out there for us. We want to make sure that we are serving whatever needs you guys need as our members. And so since we're at the conclusion of the program, I'll give you guys the CLE course information. The course title is How COVID-19 is Affecting Civil and Probate Divisions. The CLE number is 2002634N. Again, that's 2002634N as in Nancy, and that's how COVID-19 is affecting civil and probate divisions. Again, if you didn't have a chance to write that down, we'll send that out via email, but thank you everyone, and hopefully I get to see you guys in person soon, because I know I really miss seeing everyone. So have a great day. Thank you again, and we'll chat again soon. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.